The command echoed across the quiet park like a gunshot. A trained police dog lowered his body, muscles tightening, eyes locked on a frail old man sitting alone on a wooden bench. 3 officers stood firm behind the leash, their faces stern, their posture rigid. The air was thick with tension, as if the trees themselves were holding their breath. Everyone watching expected violence. Everyone expected obedience. But what happened next would leave them speechless and change lives forever. Before we begin, if you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the idea that even the smallest act of compassion can change the world, please take a moment to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories like this. It was a cool autumn afternoon when the call came in. A report of a suspicious elderly man lingering near a playground in the city park. Parents panicked. Whispers spread quickly. In a world where fear often travels faster than truth, assumptions are made in seconds. Within minutes, patrol cars arrived, lights flashing silently as officers stepped out, scanning the area. The man sat quietly on a bench beneath an old oak tree. His back was slightly hunched, his gray hair visible under a worn green cap. He wore a faded military-style jacket with a small American flag stitched onto the sleeve. His hands, weathered and trembling, rested gently on a small paper bag beside him. His eyes were not wandering. They were distant, lost in memories only he could see. The officers approached cautiously. Their German shepherd, Rex, stood tall and alert, his ears sharp, his breathing steady. Rex was one of the department's most disciplined K-9 units. Trained to detect threats, trained to protect, trained to act without hesitation. A young mother nearby pointed nervously toward the old man. "He's been sitting there for hours," she whispered. Fear fueled the situation. The officers had protocols to follow. They ordered the old man to stand. He didn't move at first, not because he was defiant, but because he hadn't fully heard them. His hearing had faded with time, much like the respect he once felt from the world. When he slowly began to rise, his movements were unsteady. The paper bag slipped from his hands, and a few small items spilled onto the grass, a half-eaten sandwich, a bottle of water, and an old black and white photograph. But tension had already escalated. One officer tightened his grip on Rex's leash. Another repeated the command louder. When the old man instinctively bent down to retrieve the fallen photograph, it was misread as a threatening movement. "Release," came the command. Rex lunged forward. Gasps rippled through the small crowd. The old man closed his eyes, bracing for impact. But instead of a growl or a bite, something else happened. Rex slowed. The powerful German shepherd approached the trembling figure, sniffing the air. He circled once, then stopped directly in front of the old man. The officers shouted another command, confusion creeping into their voices. Rex ignored it. He lifted his head toward the old man's face, sniffing gently. Then, in a movement so unexpected it stunned everyone, Rex pressed his body forward and leaned against the man's chest. His tail wagged softly. A low whine escaped his throat, not of aggression, but of recognition. The old man's eyes opened slowly. Tears welled as he looked into the dog's eyes. His shaky hands instinctively reached out and rested on Rex's thick fur. He whispered something barely audible, a name perhaps, or a memory. The officers froze. This was not how it was supposed to go. Rex wasn't just disobeying. He was choosing. The crowd fell silent as the powerful K-9 gently placed his head against the old man's shoulder. The tension dissolved into confusion. The handler called Rex back again, sharper this time. But Rex remained where he was, calm yet firm, as if shielding the men from the world. One officer stepped closer and noticed the photograph on the ground. He bent down and picked it up. The image showed a much younger version of the old man, standing proudly in a military uniform. Beside him was a German shepherd nearly identical to Rex. The realization hit slowly. The old man wasn't suspicious. He was remembering. As questions replaced accusations, the officers learned the truth. The man's name was Harold Bennett. Decades ago, he had served overseas as a K-9 handler in the military. His partner, a loyal German shepherd named Max, had saved his life more than once. When the war ended, Harold returned home, but Max did not. The loss had left a wound that never fully healed. Every year, on the anniversary of Max's passing, Harold visited that park. It was quiet, peaceful, and reminded him of the fields where he had once trained with his best friend. He brought a sandwich, shared half with the memory of the dog who had never left his heart. Rex sensed it. Dogs are trained for commands, but they are born with instincts far deeper than obedience. Rex smelled no threat. He felt no aggression. What he sensed was grief. Familiarity. A bond that transcended years. The officers slowly lowered their guard. The handler, now understanding, gave a soft command. This time, Rex stepped back, but not before licking the old man's trembling hand. The young mother who had first raised concern stepped forward, guilt written across her face. She saw not a threat, but a lonely veteran carrying memories heavier than most could imagine. Harold struggled to stand fully upright. One of the officers gently helped him back onto the bench. Another returned the photograph to his hands. No one spoke for a moment. In that silence, something powerful happened. Fear transformed into empathy. Suspicion softened into understanding. The handler later admitted he had never seen Rex refuse a command before. Not once. Yet in that critical moment, the dog chose compassion over aggression. He had read the situation better than any human present. News of the incident spread quickly, but not as a scandal. It spread as a reminder. The department invited Harold to visit the K-9 unit headquarters. There, he met Rex again, this time without tension, without fear. Harold's face lit up as he stroked Rex's fur. The officers listened as he shared stories of Max, of loyalty, of sacrifice. The bond between Harold and Rex grew. What began as a near tragedy became a second chance. The department even arranged for Harold to volunteer occasionally, spending time with the K-9 units, sharing his experience with young officers. His loneliness faded as purpose returned. But the most powerful change was invisible. The officers who had once approached him with suspicion began to approach every situation differently. They learned that not every bent movement is a threat. Not every silence hides danger. Sometimes, it hides pain. And Rex? He continued his duties faithfully. But from that day on, he was known not just as a protector, but as a reminder that strength without compassion is incomplete. As Harold sat on the same bench months later, Rex resting peacefully at his feet during a supervised visit, the park felt different. Parents smiled at the sight. Children waved. The story had turned fear into connection. If this story has touched your heart so far, please pause and comment the word compassion below. Let's fill the comments with a reminder that kindness still exists in this world. Life often places us in moments where quick judgment feels easier than patience. But sometimes, it takes the quiet wisdom of a dog to teach us what humanity truly means. If this story moved you, if it reminded you of the power of empathy and second chances, please like the video, share it with someone who believes in goodness, and subscribe for more stories that inspire hope. Because sometimes, the ones trained to attack end up teaching us how to love.